Greetings and salutations, everyone. GodOfKnockers here. How you all doing? You good? I'm good. Hope you guys had a safe New Year's and all that stuff. I didn't wish that the last time because that was recorded weeks ago. But this time's kind of fresh and it's new. So yeah. Today I'm going to talk about beef with Nintendo. If you haven't followed my streams or follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I've decided not to stream Nintendo games anymore, or have anything to do with anything based on emulation with Nintendo. It's basically a giant fuck you in return to the fuck you that Nintendo's given us. Now, there's been a lot of, bunk about why I feel this way. Some are upset about some are suggesting that I'm upset because I would have to go and get a Nintendo Switch and buy a service to access the ROMs and play the games and stuff. But that's not my issue. Believe it or not, cash is not the issue as to why I have a beef with Nintendo. My beef is their vice grip on their copyrighted works and the overreach that they do to protect said works. Okay? I understand, as a company, as a business, that any corporation that makes something, anything, no matter what it is, it wants to protect its copyrighted work or its intellectual properties respectfully. I get that. I do. I understand it, and I also understand that they will take legal action if they feel it's getting out of hand, or if there's, just some kind of asshole trying to imitate and duplicate shit. I totally get that. And yes, I'm well aware of what Soulja Boy tried to do. That was stupid. I'm not supporting that shit at all, okay? That was just dumb. But what I just don't like is when companies do an overreach based on a knee-jerk reaction. Something that I'm pretty sure you're seeing a lot of this year, if you haven't last year. Last year in, November, maybe October, Nintendo shut down 2 ROM sites, Love ROMs and another one that had ROMs in it. I forget its name. And a third one, EMU Paradise, it's still up and running, but they no longer host ROMs of any console, period. Not even Atari is on there. It's just, no. Now, I understand that Nintendo, like I said before, I understand Nintendo's trying to protect its copyrighted works, but this overreach was completely unnecessary. Let me explain. When Nintendo licenses a game to its platform, that license basically says that that game has a right to be put onto physical cartridge or digital medium, and it can be distributed by Nintendo and, most importantly, played on Nintendo's devices. It's basically a green light saying, you are approved, get on there. It's like acquiring a license to drive a car. You need license, registration, proof of insurance. That's kind of what this is. This license basically says, yes, you can do this thing, and it'll be fine. We have no beef with it. We got no qualms with it. You're good, fam. You're good. So, another thing that you have to realize is that the vast majority of Nintendo's library was not made by Nintendo. See, while you do have rights to have that game on the platform, the publishers still retain the rights of ownership. That's still their game. Okay? It's like the game Beetlejuice. It was made by LJN. And yes, I know Rare developed it, but it's still in the LJN wheelhouse. So that's it as an LJN game. Nintendo doesn't own the game. They just gave LJN permission to have the game available on a Nintendo gaming platform. In this case, the NES. Same applies to games from the Switch, the 3DS, the 2DS, and whatever type of device is out there on the Nintendo platform, and their digital store. Okay? It's just giving Nintendo the green light to say, hey, your game's acceptable on our platform, people can play it on this platform. That's all it is. Nintendo doesn't necessarily own it. Okay? It really doesn't. A good example of that is Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. Yes, Bayonetta 2 is on the Wii U, and it's making a move to the Switch, and it's a Nintendo exclusive. That does not mean Nintendo owns the game. It just means that the company that made the game cannot have this game anywhere else because it is currently listed as an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. Okay, same thing happened with Bayonetta. Bayonetta was a Wii U exclusive. Not a Wii U, or I think it was the Wii. One of the two. But for a very long time, Bayonetta was also listed as an exclusive game for the Nintendo platform. It took quite a time for that license to finally be up, and then the publishers could do whatever they want with it. Okay, this used to be an exclusive title. The license expired for it, so now it's non-exclusive, which means that the game can be put on any platform that the developers want. That's exactly what's happening here. Nintendo has, in my purview, okay, now I'm not a lawyer or anything, and I might have some things wrong. It's just bear with me here. But in my purview, while Nintendo does have a right to protect its copyrighted works and its individual properties, or intellectual properties, sorry, it doesn't have a right to just be so broadband with the execution of that protection. In other words, to seize the domains of 2 ROM sites, to cease and desist EMU Paradise, to take all the ROMs off the platform, to reclaim those domains as their own. So Nintendo owns those platforms altogether, just so they can stop illegal ROM sharing. That's overreach. Nintendo should have handled its own copyrighted works, which means the games that Nintendo has made. So that's the Mario Brothers, that's the Zelda series, that's the F-Zero series. Nintendo should have taken its own stuff and just removed it. Okay, you've got games on the N64 platform. Well, we got The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 64. There's a whole bunch of games that Nintendo has made over the years. But instead, they didn't do that. Instead, they did what a lot of people who abuse the DMCA tool do. They just type in a couple of search keywords, and whatever is in the search engine is like, this is what it is, we're going to file a mass claim, and just let the cards fall what they may. Google, to this day, receives billions and billions of these requests. It's not strategically looked at. You don't have a single person just looking at this thing and saying, okay, there's this, and there's this. The rest of these are exempt. And filtering out what is and isn't. Instead it's just a couple of keywords here, hit the enter button, okay, this is all of them, select all, boom. It's like that one person who clicks reply all instead of just reply to an email. Instead of just sending it to just one specific person, it goes out and takes on everything, so everybody's got this email. Definitely doesn't help when you got a risky picture of yourself that you're trying to send to your significant other, and Jim from accounting says, hey, so, your dick is curved. For the record, that never actually happened. That's just an example, okay? So just be chill. But anyway, when it comes to Nintendo's overreach, it's just so aggressive, and it was completely unnecessary. All they had to do was issue a list of games that are not supposed to be on the platform, send it to the ROM sites, and just be like, yeah. Just go ahead and just do that. Just be like, hey, here's a list of the games that are owned by Nintendo. Please remove these specific ROMs off of your site, or else it's going to be some trouble. And I think the ROMs would have complied. Not the ROMs, but the ROM sites would have complied with that. I think they would have been okay with it. It's easy. It's just click, 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 done. The site's gone. ROM sites keep going. World's still spinning. It's not that big of an issue. I mean, why can't Nintendo take its cue from Sega Genesis? Sega Genesis has some games, and they are aware of ROMs and ROM hacks and stuff, and it's like, okay, so there's some stuff on there. We don't give a fuck. Sega don't give a fuck. Atari doesn't give a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about Nintendo because they have to have such a vice grip on it. And for crying out loud, people, they actually shut down the sale and distribution of two porn movies based off of the Super Mario Brothers. It's called Super Hornio Brothers. There was the first one and the second one. Both of them start Ron Jeremy, and there was a very seductive Princess Peach. I think a Princess Daisy. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched the first one. Spoiler alert, I have the second one. Why? Because fuck you, Nintendo. You can't stop me. Okay, so... anyway, this is one of the cruxes that I have. One of many. I have a couple more about Nintendo's vice grip on this. Okay, you don't like illegal ROM sites or ROM sharing. That's great. But do you have any idea what type of effort goes into making a ROM? Okay, there's a whole bunch of equipment, and you gotta make sure you do it right in one go. Sometimes it's not always exact. Sometimes the leads on the cartridge might be dirty, and you might not get an exact rip. It's a time-consuming process. It does take a while, and the equipment is specific, and you have to set it up a certain way to make it work. That's with NES cartridges alone. Okay, I'm not even gonna get into micro SDs or anything like that. No. It's crazy, man. There's a lot of stuff that you gotta do just to extract ROM data from a cartridge. It's a very complex process, especially if you're doing a ROM hack. And I think that if that stuff is done pre-made, and it's for people who want that, you should go right ahead. Another thing that I don't like is the NES Mini and the SNES Mini. Now granted, these devices just sold the fuck up and sold the fuck out. A lot of people wanted them. There was a shortage of the NES Mini because they didn't think that they would go that fast. It was supposed to be a limited production thing, so they had to make more. And with the Super NES, it wasn't as bad as the first time. They were able to get something going there. But still, I think that these games fell horribly short. These devices fell horribly short, sorry. 30 games that everybody knows about, but the thing is, not everyone has played these games, and if they have, they weren't really their favorites. Nintendo, in my opinion, in their efforts to just have such a vice grip on things, failed to give the customers what they want. And that's something that just really bothers me. That's what Nintendo falls short on every single time. They're just not giving their customers what they ask for. Now, I know that you can hack the NES Mini, and I think there's a hack for the SNES Mini, okay, where you can modify it and put your own games on there. But do you really need to do that? I mean, doesn't that require additional equipment? It doesn't make any sense that you gotta go through all that effort just to do something that's right there for you that you can find online and set up. Okay? How about this? If Nintendo has such a vice grip on its library, if Nintendo is like, I don't want these sites sharing this type of content, if you're going to have such a broadband undertaking like this, how about you have that same broadband undertaking in making sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that people can have the library that they want. Some of these licenses can be renewed. A lot of the companies are still around. Some companies picked up the rights from the defunct companies, like AnyCrates. They have the rights to some of Sunsoft's games, like the Blaster Master, which, by the way, I recommend playing Blaster Master Zero. That game's amazing. Holy shit, it's amazing. And the way I see it is that if you're going to have such a vice grip on the Nintendo library, you should be working with the companies and say, hey, you know what? We used to have a license with you way back when. Is it okay if we can get this game and put it on the NES Mini? Would you be alright with that? And the company probably going to be like, oh, well, okay, sure, yeah. Yeah, we can totally do that. Because it's all of Nintendo's games that they've made. There's nothing else on there. For the NES Mini, there might not be Blaster Master. I haven't really looked at the list of games, but I do know that a lot of the games that are on that list belong to Nintendo. It just doesn't make any sense. I think that Nintendo, if they're going to go all out and making sure to seize their IPs and their copyrighted works to have this kind of protection, I think they should go all out and just make a device that is worth the money. The amount of money that people paid when these devices first came out, in my purview, too much. Too much for too little. I mean, yeah, on the upshot, you're finally able to play NES games on your television using HDMI. The old way, you gotta have a converter box, and then you gotta plug into the component jacks on your TV, and then set the TV to game mode and stuff, and But with NES Mini, it's just HDMI, we're done here. Press start, turn on the power, let's play. Okay? I think they could have taken it a step further. I think they could have acquired licenses for these games, just put them on the NES Mini. Or better yet, acquire as many licenses that they can, put it into the e-store, offer the access for free to these games, because, come on. Who wants to pay $14 for Excitebike? I don't. Do you? I got that game upstairs right now. It's sitting in a drawer in its sleeve next to the NES. Do you think I want to pay $14 for that? Do you want to pay $14 for an 8-bit game? You don't, do you? All you're doing is just going up hills and shit and making your own course? Do you want that? No, you don't. I know you don't, because I don't want that either. Okay? Mind the consumer up here. Just go ahead and do that. Make it easy for people to have access to the library. Find a way to get all these games, or as many games as you possibly can. I know that people like the Guardian Legend, Blaster Master, Life Force. It can't just be the games that Nintendo made, because not everybody liked those Nintendo games. There's a lot of games on there that people enjoyed, but there's a lot of games that are missing on that platform. I think that you should make the effort to just pimp this bitch the fuck out. Pimp out the NES Mini. Pimp out the Sony. Pimp it out. Sony PlayStation is a whole other podcast, because right now this is about Nintendo. I think that if you are going to have intellectual properties and copyrighted works, that while it's okay to be protective of them, it's okay to have licensing and all the legality sorted out, it's not okay to just cut people at the knees like this. It really isn't. It's just not. You just shouldn't do it. Okay? I don't think that people should spend a shit ton of money to play 30 games that they've played for some, heard about the rest, and have no interest in. That sounds like a waste of cash. That sounds like a lack of effort from Nintendo. It's not fair, and it's not kosher. It's not right. Same thing with the SNES Mini. There were some games on there that some people have played, but some people didn't like. I know ActRaiser is on the SNES. I don't like that game. I really don't like that game. I used to read about it in the old issues of Nintendo Power, but when I went to play it, it's kind of a mess. I'm not into it. I tried it and it's like, oh, okay, we got the sword and stuff, and yeah, and I can jump, and the bosses, and so, but it really wasn't singing to me. It didn't say, I like this game and I want to play more of it. It's just not there. I think that Nintendo should allow consumers to build their own library of games and be allowed to play them in any way, shape, or form. Just, calm down and ease it up. I think Nintendo would definitely have an issue if money was being made. It's like, hey, here's some ROMs that are being sold and shit of these games. You can go ahead and purchase the ROM set for like, $10? And I'll download it to you digitally and all that shit. If that was the case, yeah, I could see it. But no money was being made off of this. Even when the sites that say, hey, donate to keep the site running, it wasn't to buy the ROMs, it was to keep the site going. You could access the ROMs anytime you wanted. So it really wasn't a paywall. And that's when I think Nintendo, should have some say in some shit. When they're making money off of copyrighted content without your permission. But that's not the case here. It really, really isn't. Okay? Nintendo is one of those companies that I think is just really too possessive and obsessive with being Nintendo. And I guess in a way, it really is. It ultimately, honestly, absolutely, unequivocally, unabashedly is. I mean, it's got so much cash that I think it just stopped caring about what consumers legitimately want. Okay, like Nintendo could be making shitty games and have profit losses for 20 years, 2 fucking decades, and still be a profitable company. They'd still have money. So it's like, okay, who cares? We're going to do our own thing. People will pay it because we're Nintendo. We're awesome like that. And, fuck the rest. I don't think that's how any business or company should be. Alright? I don't really see anything wrong with ROMs, and I think that they are a lot more convenient. I think they are convenient for people who don't want to buy these type of devices, for people who just don't want to play video games in their rec room or what have you, and just play on the computer. I think that they are an ideal choice for streaming, because NES emulators, which I do use and I do love, they do not take up a lot of resources at all. Okay? And I see zero problem with that. Zero. Not a goddamn thing. Have you ever tried to buy an original NES console? That shit's pricey. Those things are steep. Even after all this time. I'm not talking the minis. I'm talking the full-size console. The kind for the 1980s. My God. It's just, those things are steep. price is unbelievable. The newer and fresher it is, the refurbished ones are pricey. Even brand new ones that have never been taken out of the box. Oh my God, those are expensive. And it gets even more so when you deal with the Famicom. It's one hell of a thing to have these type of devices. It just sucks. Okay, I think Nintendo just did a horrible shit by allowing such broadband sweeping what have you just come in and just take out these sites like this. It's not necessary, man. Okay, I get it. You're trying to protect your copyrighted shit, trying to protect your IP. I understand that completely. But enough with this broadband shit. And if you're going to be like that, have such a vice grip on it, give your consumers what they want. I think that you can have the entire Nintendo library on these devices, or at least be given access to it. It would be legitimate, it would be totally fine, you'd have Nintendo's blessing, and we wouldn't see shit like this. Or better yet, failing all that, just make it yourself. Yeah. It's called RetroPie. You can take a Raspberry Pi, and there's this software called RetroPie, which you can install on there. There is one specific model of the Raspberry Pi device that has HDMI output. So just grab that, put on the RetroPie. If you got an Xbox controller that has USB or something like that, you can plug that in. Put on the RetroPie, download whatever ROMs you want onto that thing, and you can practically play the entire Nintendo library for a lot less. Yeah, you'll need a container to hold the Pi in, and it is going to get a little warm, but that's nothing. You can make your own NES Mini, and it will be made your way, and it'll cost a hell of a lot less cash. I just think that's what people should do, instead of this ridiculous vice grip that Nintendo's trying to have. Enough is enough is enough. Nintendo, if you're going to do shit like this, if this is the way you're choosing to be, fine. I think, as from a consumer's point of view, you should do what you need to do and get your money's worth. The NES Mini, no one got their money's worth. SNES Mini, no one got their money's worth. And fuck Nintendo Switch, I don't think anyone's getting their money's worth on that thing. Oh wow, you can play Fortnite on the go? Really? A game that complex, and you're just going to be like, hey, let's go over to Jimbo's and just play this game here and we'll all have a good time. That's just, no, man. Just no. Just stop. Stop, Nintendo. Stop being a massive asshole. Fuck. Okay. That concludes this lovely podcast of mine. Thank you very much for listening or watching if you're on the YouTubes. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And feel free to leave a message in the chat box if you're watching this on Twitch, provided that I actually get this thing uploaded to Twitch. If you're listening to this on Spotify and iTunes, subscribe to it. Add to your favorites list on Spotify. Click the subscribe to the thing. Get new episodes every Wednesday. It's fantastic. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's I want to say delicious. Yeah, magically delicious. There it is. I know you can't eat it, but it does sound good to the ear holes, I'm hoping. So I was GodOfKnockers, and it's been real nice talking to you guys. Laters. Put your hands up,